Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about water methanol, so stay tuned. Alrighty, so I am in the Subaru, and if you look behind me you can see this little tank, and in it is water methanol. So what is it? It's basically just a fluid that goes from this tank, goes through a pump, we spray it in our engine intake, whether you turbo or NA, mainly used in turbo cars, but yes, so we spray it in there, and the purpose for it is to help with making more power. Water meth by itself does not make more power. I use this guy. So it's not backwards. So I use boost juice in mine. So what boost juice is a 50-50 blend of water and methanol. Methanol being an alcohol, a fuel, and water being water. So how does it work? So we spray it into you wire it up, you spray it into the car. I'm not going to show you how to do all of this. You can just download the manual or look at all the videos and you'll see how it's mostly wired. But why would you spray it? That is the million-dollar question, right? So water itself, again, this is often debated, but water itself is mainly for cooling. Some argue that it does bump up your octane, since water scientifically does not have an octane rating, so it's infinite octane rating. You can see that. But methanol does. Methanol is the fuel. It has very high octane. I think it should be around 108, if I recall correctly, octane. And it has excellent cooling properties. So just spraying methanol alone in your car, you get in higher octane and you get some cooling. Not as much cooling as water, but again, setup dependent. What you need to remember is if your car is suffering from heat, typically water works better for you. If your car needs an octane bump, say you only have 90 octane and then you want to be able to run fueling equivalent to maybe a 95, a 98, 100, whatever, then methanol is better. If you want the best of both worlds, like for instance what I do, then a water methanol or water alcohol mix is what you would probably need. On mine, I use boost juice, so 50% methanol, 50% water. So I'll take you guys on the inside. Let me show you what I have for the setup. Okay, so we're on the inside of the Subaru, and as you can see, there is almost nothing out of the ordinary from what you get for a stock car. But on the inside here, this is where I store my water meth controller. So I'm using an AEM kit. So it does, this black hose is a vacuum line, so it runs to the intake manifold, so this gets a vacuum or boost reference. And the knobs here you basically use to set what PSI you want the kit to start spraying, and the other one is at what PSI you want it to hit its full spraying capabilities. There are many ways to do that. Again, it'll boil down to preference. Some people spray a little in the bottom at low boost and a lot more up top. Some people just spray everything at low boost and tune for that. Again, it'll be setup dependent. Speak to your tuner or do your research and find out what works for your setup. On mine, I have a ramp. The ramp is not perfect, but it works for me. And in order for you to do water methanol effectively, you need to be able to tune for it. So there's a misconception that you just spray it on a car and it adds a million horsepower. It doesn't. As a matter of fact, just spraying water methanol on an already tuned car, that's, say your car already makes, say you have a 300 horsepower Subaru, 400 horsepower Subaru, and you just spray water methanol, you're actually going to lose horsepower. The car has to be tuned for it. So to do that, you need a wideband. So if you look here, I also have an AEM wideband installed in the car. So AEM wideband, AEM water methanol kit. The reason I have this hanging, that's chilling in there, is because I don't want to add any gauges to this car. I want it to look completely stock. So everything is tucked away in there. I just stash it away with all my other stuff that just bounce around in there. and that is enough for me to do that. So you need an AEM wideband, because the factory wideband, as I've always said, it does not really do a good job giving you accurate data for the FUL ratios. So it's good somewhere close to around 14.7, but when you go leaner than that, say when you go down to the 12th or the 11th, when I log it, I always realize that the wideband, the AEM wideband that I have, it reads a little bit richer than the stock wideband. So and I trust the AEM wideband a lot more than the factory one. So the other thing you need, speaking of wideband, you'll need one of these. I had one of these. I made a video up on my Instagram recently. So you need this cable on the end. This black cable is called a DB9 convert. DB9 to, or depends on who you ask. Some people call it a RS free to USB converter. Some people call it DB9 to USB adapter, whichever you choose to use. It's completely up to you. And from this gray bit, let me disconnect this if I can do this one-handed. This never works on YouTube, right? It's one-handed step. Okay, it's not coming off. So this coiled up wire is basically just a DB9 end, and this goes in here and it goes to my wideband. So that is the adapter that you would normally get guys buying online, Evos, Subaru. So you by default, you cannot log the factory Subaru builder. Sorry, brain fat. You cannot log a wideband directly into your factory Subaru. So you need some sort of converter to read the serial signal and send it to your laptop via USB. So I basically built this cable. I think they retail, if you want to buy them, most people sell them for around $50-$60 without the USB end, the black cable. So you'll have to buy that separate. So you're looking at around maybe $70-$75 total. Alright, so what I usually do is you need to, I think I mentioned it, I don't know, it's a little bit hot, so I may be missing out. You need to tune the car for water meth. Just throw in water meth into the car. And already tuned car, you're going to lose horsepower. Whether you use water, whether you use E85 in there, whether you use methanol or a mix of the two or the three, so you need to tune for it. In my case, my car is running DiMod, so it's still a factory ECU, but I'm running the DiMod so I can do map switching. Currently I only have two maps on my car. So map 1 is basically pump gas, no water meth whatsoever. And map 2 is the map that I built for the water meth when it's spraying. And my water meth is wired to this button, so when I press the button, again the key's not in the car, this turns on the kit. And in map 2, so my car just runs without it. Runs with the water meth when I spray this button. When I decide I don't want to do that, I just want to cruise, switch the car back to map 1 and just drive on the pump gas on some lower boost and a little bit less aggressive mapping. So I will show you guys what this actually is when I go for a drive in a minute. You're not going to feel it, but I'll try to explain what's going on for you. And I'll also show you guys some of the testing that I've done, what gains I got. Again, not an actual dyno, but I have virtual dyno numbers. The best we can do down here, since we don't actually have an all-wheel drive dyno. So stay tuned for that bit. Alrighty, so again, driving around, you can see my blue button is on. Hopefully the camera picks it up. So again, just driving around with the water methanol kit installed, it doesn't activate. It only activates based on the set points that I showed you guys that I had earlier. What I've noticed is, again, with the Subaru, they're very, very, very knock prone on pump fuel. So 89, 90, 91 octane, you're almost always going to be knock limited. Always going to be knock limited by that. So we're just going to drive around. I mean, we have a straightaway coming up over there. And if I flow it automatically, you can see, let's see. Gets up and go. So you definitely notice the increased torque that you would more than likely get if you tune the car accordingly for the water meth. So a lot more timing can be put into the car, clean out the car, etc., etc., and do what needs to be done. So we have a little bit of a straightaway coming up here after this one. So again, I'm gonna log it. Some vehicles up ahead of me, so I'm gonna give myself some room. Alright, so I'm gonna start the data log. Nothing behind me. Go full throttle, third gear, 2000 RPMs. Going up a hill, third gear, all the way to fifth. So again, you definitely notice that increased in torque, and then that backfire was because the car has a few maps on it, but I put it back on the MAF sensor, and I do have a blow-off valve, so when you let off, you get that little backfire, just the unburnt fuel going out through the exhaust. So, okay, what's on my windscreen? Yeah, alright. So we're gonna stop here and we'll go over some of the, well, we're gonna stop here and then we go into wrap this video up. Alright, so that was just me showing you what the water methanol does. Again, you cannot exactly get the sense of it by just watching the video, but you're just gonna have to take my word for it that you definitely, if the car is tuned properly, you definitely feel the gains in torque and horsepower from just having good fuel, good knock resistance, from having a good fuel mix going through your car. Again, like I need to reiterate, it's not just install it and go. You need to actually tune for it. And we can see here is the run I did just a while ago, and we can see here that the run right around 2000 RPMs, 2075 to be exact, and we go all the way up and we look here. You can see here second set of data. You can see feedback knock, so absolutely no knock, and it's a hot day. It's actually 30 degrees outside, and yeah, so absolutely no feedback knock. And that was a hill pull. I was actually going up a hill and pulling, doing the pull there. It works. Let me just show you the last piece of data for those of you who like numbers. And this is two pulls. So the blue one, the lower horsepower pull, 231 peak horsepower, was the run I did on I think some time ago, cannot recall when, but this one is strictly pump gas, our pump 91 octane, and the red one here is with the water meth, and this one actually has a less boost, so it's around a pound less boost, but obviously a little bit more timing and a little bit more optimized because it has a better fuel charge. And you can see overall the peak gains is, we had a peak of 231 versus 255, so right around 24 horsepower gains. This one would have made a little bit more horsepower if I carried it over. I do have some logs where I actually made more, but I cannot exactly find it now. I stopped at 6400 whatever, for whatever reason, on that pool. So we have a gain of around 24 roughly. Take it with a grain of salt, 24 wheel horsepower. Every setup is going to be different. Obviously, if you have more a setup where you're suffering from heat soak a little bit more, you're going to obviously pick up more, you're going to gain more by getting the cooler charge. If you on a setup where you're really knock limited, then putting in more octane with methanol or ethanol is going to bear more fruits, better results. So it varies, but you'll definitely see gains. I think on a car, this car still has a stock TD04 style turbo, so on a bigger setup you'd probably easily be able to squeeze out an extra 50 horsepower, extra 75 over pump gas. Depends on what fuel you're starting off with, but you guys get the idea. So hopefully this one was helpful, and hopefully I convinced someone to get water meth, because we have way too many Subarus not getting the fuel that they need. But it's not exactly a Subaru exclusive thing. It works for pretty much any car, any turbo supercharged, does not really matter. And hopefully this one is helpful, and I'll catch you guys later.